or something. That was weird. Okay, you ready?
That should be a little closer to you.
Okay. Hello, my name is Eric D, and this is Carol Lee. And this is Flirting with Realities, and this is podcast number 2. We did podcast number 1 last week, and we're working on getting that all situated and everything. So we don't have any feedback because it's not online yet, but we're just going ahead. We're just doing it. That's part of what you're learning in your life right now, right? Is just kind of going for shit.
Taking consistent, committed, imperfect action.
Yeah, it was cool. You know, you're going through this class on, I mean, how do you sum it up? It's like marketing and like what is it? I mean, it's a lot, right?
Yes, it's called Conscious Business Accelerator. It's led by 3 gentlemen who are very into spirituality, meditation, and like growing. And so yes, it's a lot of self-work and self-development. It's reshaping your beliefs.
But they're focusing on business?
Yeah. Like it's really about conscious leadership and like being a good leader, and in order to be a good leader you need to be aligned with yourself and know your values. And
yeah, that's pretty cool. That's a lot going on though. There's a lot to teach. But you know what I was watching, just kind of like poking my head in when you were learning or whatever, and he was talking about perfection. Like it kind of hit home with me because, you know, he's saying like if you're gonna like retake everything 1,000 times, or if you're waiting for the perfect moment, or if you're waiting for this, or you're gonna say things, or you know, when we watch like our first podcast, I keep saying like, and like I gotta stick like, you know, and like you were like, talking about how you didn't like some things and
how loud I was.
You know, it's just,
Yeah.
it really hit home with me because I think about in business how stressed out I get about being perfect. And, you know, watching him talk about don't wait for that moment, like don't do this. You're just an imperfect person and you just need to go for it. And it's so true. And it was a cool thing to hear because I mean, I just needed to hear it too, where there's a lot of pressure. The thing is, for me, is like there's a lot of pressure put on by society to be perfect. They expect perfection. They expect perfection, which makes me nervous about being imperfect. You know, so it was just kind of interesting to hear him talk about that and just kind of, I guess, be more accepting of how imperfect I am. And it's kind of weird because it's kind of like, well, if you don't like my shit, then go somewhere else. Go, you know, that's what I always said in my old business was, is there somebody else doing a better job? You know, why are you guys buying stuff from me constantly over and over if I'm such a piece of shit? Like, why don't you go buy from the perfect guy? Well, you don't know who he is, do you? He doesn't exist. And people are always trying to do their best, you know. But anyway, I thought perfection was...
Yeah, that was a huge breakthrough for me. I didn't realize how much my perfectionism was debilitating me until I knew it existed, but I didn't know to the extent that it existed. And also, they work with you to go to the place that it came from, which was a big wow for me. You know, you do all this deep work and you think you know things that you've been through in your childhood, but yeah, well, being raised with a bipolar sister and, you know, schizophrenic mother, I was constantly trying to keep the peace, keep things clean. Like, just make sure it was as perfect as possible for less chaos and drama as possible. So...
So is that what you still feel like if we're doing a podcast like this and you see it's imperfect? Do you feel like it's chaos and drama, or how does it make you feel when you don't have something that's perfect?
No, I think it's just been carried on with me. No, it doesn't. I get anxiety and it's very stressful. But that's kind of what old traumas are. It doesn't mean that you're going through it again. It's you're bringing up the past feelings. They're not current feelings. So no, it's just reliving something that you need to address. But no, I don't go through that. And in all honesty, since I've made a few videos, I'll catch myself going, oh, I'm not going to put this on. And I'm just putting it on anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too because just sitting here talking, we were doing that first podcast, and I told you I was sitting there thinking, why are we doing this? Because nobody's going to want to hear us. Nobody's going to want to hear what we got to say. And that's kind of an imperfection too, right? Is I'm not perfect. Nobody, like, there's so many insecurities and like imperfections, and it's, if you're not careful, it's your own worst enemy, right? Like, you just can take yourself over, and I think that's what you're saying is just go for it, just do it,
Feel it and do it anyway.
feel it and do it, and it's so it's like if you never do anything, you have 100% chance of failure. 100%. It's 100%. You don't even have a fraction of a percent of success if you don't do it. But if you do it, say nobody does want to listen to us. Say this is completely imperfect, but we still do it. Now we have a chance. Even if we suck that bad, we still have a chance. And some chance, even if it's 0.00001%, is still better than zero. And like you and I talk about all the time, when I'm on my deathbed, I can go, hey, I tried my ass off. I was imperfect. Nobody liked my podcast. Nobody listened. It was a complete waste of fucking time. But I tried.
But what if it is something else that you learn from this podcast? You could learn something that like forks you off into another road.
Yeah, I mean, you brought that up on something else we were talking about, and it's true. There's a lot going on, and I guess that's where I always say, who cares what you're doing? Just do something.
Yeah.
But that's what the perfection and all these insecurities are doing, right? They make you freeze and you just do nothing. Well, it's what
It
we
can
were.
be, yes,
Well,
debilitating.
yeah, that's what we were talking about people who don't start businesses and they just go, I'm just going to work for somebody the rest of my life because it's safe. Like, people are always doing safe things, and you'll always just kind of be like a middle of the road person or thing because you don't take chances. And you can take a chance and you could fail super hard. There's that possibility too, but you could also succeed. And I don't know. I guess it's just
I've learned most in my failures.
well, that too, right? Is failing is awesome. Failing is a super good thing. You learn a lot and grow from it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I guess here we are doing podcast number 2, and who knows what it'll turn into, or who knows what kind of failure we'll get out of
learn
it.
from.
Yeah, whatever. So something we were talking about earlier, we kind of quit our conversations because we feel like we have decent conversations all the time. And I think we do because we're both inquisitive people,
Curious, yeah.
but we also want to we're constantly just improving our lives. We're constantly trying to understand life. And so I feel like we have really good conversations, and that's what we talk about, is how we should have a microphone on all the time We're not interesting all the time. Sometimes we sit in silence, but sometimes we bounce ideas off each other and like have really good conversations and some real epiphanies.
Yeah.
So what we were talking about just a minute ago, and we stopped our conversation so we could kind of bring into this, was we were talking about kind of how you can't count on people today. But it's funny because we were kind of looking back on our lives, and I remember my teenage years, and we were talking about friends and how there was a code of honor that you did help each other. Like it was just a thing. You know, I was saying if I called you at 2 in the morning to come pick me up because I did something that was completely my fault and completely stupid, I counted on you to come get me. You know, if as a friend, that's what you did. You came and got me. And you could call me at 2 in the morning and I would come get you. And it was okay to tell them that they're dumb and, you know, don't do stupid shit. But you still helped them out. It was just what you did. And so we were talking about how that's gone. It's not even a thing anymore. Like,
Everybody's out for themselves, it
yeah,
seems like. And I was telling Eric, same for me. My friends would back me up 100%. Flat tire, they would be there. If I needed a ride from a party, they would be there. Like it was
yeah,
just no question.
yeah. If you were needing help, it used to be. But did you? So I was talking about like in my, I guess maybe not my childhood. You know, like elementary. I don't think you have values and morals and stuff like that. But it was definitely started in junior high and high school, and then early 20s, and then it kind of went away. But did you ever have that with anybody in your family?
Well, not to that degree.
See, I didn't have any of that with my immediate family. In fact, it was kind of felt the opposite. It was just like I'm tired, go the fuck away. But my extended family, I feel like they would have. I feel like they actually still would. Like my dad's side of the family, I feel like you could call them right now and they would, you know, even if they're in a different state in the country, they would figure out how to help you. I feel like they're just that type of person.
My grandma was that way. She would give you the clothes off her back. You could stay with her anytime. She would feed you an amazing meal. I do, like my mom, before she went super nutso, when I was probably like 12, like she took me to the movie all the time. Like she'd take me wherever I needed to go. And I feel like if I would have needed her, but she also was a flake and left me a few times. So
Yeah.
that's why it's kind of hard to think. Plus, it was a long time ago.
Yeah. So I guess we were talking about it. I guess it feels like something that's in the past though. Or maybe it's just something you have in your 20s as a kid, but
That's what I was thinking. Maybe, like Stand By Me type thing. Maybe it's a
yeah.
kid thing.
Yeah, which is weird because it's such a good way to treat each other.
I think so.
You know, so it feels like it should still be around. And that's what I was saying about my dad's side of the family. I feel like that's the way they treat you. And I mean, it definitely makes you feel closer and like you can count on them and they can count on you. And it's a good feeling. So I don't know. That's a weird thought. But I guess I've been kind of, I've been like emotional and like down on people for a while now, but it seems like it's getting worse. We were talking about last night. I went to Walmart and there were people sitting in the parking lot and they just bought some watermelon and they smashed it all over the parking lot and like just made a mess out of the parking lot and it was just all next to these people's cars, and it's just, I don't know. I feel like society's taking a dive, but I feel like one of the biggest problems is actually people like me that, not saying anything. I feel like that's a big problem. And maybe that's a big problem too, is when you're in a friendship or a relationship, demanding that you have that aspect where you can count on somebody.
I think that is why I don't have any friends.
But do you think you like vocalize that? Do you think you're like, hey, you need to like be a better friend? You're a piece of shit. Or do you just like, fuck this person and you're out of here?
I think that if you were becoming friends with the right person, that you wouldn't need to vocalize it. And to me, you can kind of tell how people are very early on. And they pretty much show themselves by how they speak to you, what they expect of you, and it makes it pretty clear that they're not that type of person. I haven't had a close friend since I was in school, 2017-ish. So it's been quite a while.
But the funny part is I feel like people not only went to not being able to be counted on, but I feel like they went from not being able to be counted on to taking advantage of you. I feel like they're not just like, oh, hey, I'm just going to go over and chill and you can't count on me. I feel like it's more, hey, I'm going to take advantage of you and I'm going to use the shit out of you and then I'm not going to give back to you. And the reason I bring this up is because I feel like if somebody approached me because I feel like people are this way, I would be more standoffish and I wouldn't give them a chance. Like, they've got to prove to me first that I can count on them. And I'm thinking about our neighbor Brian. Like, that guy gives you anything. But when I very first moved here, he was like, hey man, I'll help you out. Like, I'll help you build your shop. I'll help you do whatever you need. Like, I'm at your service. And I don't want your help. And I didn't want his help because I'm expecting him to take advantage of me. And I don't want to be in his debt and have him be like, hey man, like, I helped you remodel your shop and I helped you fix your shop and get in a space where it's workable. And anyway, so you need to come to my house and you need to remodel my whole fucking house and you need to take care of my dogs and you owe me, there's that thing where it's like, I helped you out for 5 minutes and now you owe me 3 hours. Like, I feel like that's where a lot of people come from. Luckily, Brian's not that way. He just gives you the shirt off his back and he's a good guy. But it took me a long time to get to trust him because of how I'm being treated by other people. So it's interesting that people have gone from, I'll do anything from you, I'll do anything for you, to I'm going to take everything from you. And that makes me standoffish. And then, so it's like, I feel like, at least me, speaking about me, I'm like levels away from trusting people and having friends that I can count on and stuff,
I feel like this is similar, and tell me if I'm wrong, to like being in a bad relationship. So you have traumas from people taking advantage of you. So then you have a belief system that everybody is that way. Or most everybody.
Well, yeah, I mean, but where does trauma come in, and where does belief system come in, and then where does reality meet with that?
Well, I think for me, and I can only speak for me and my beliefs on the situation, I think we are dealing with a mass amount of people who are unconscious and unaware and living just these
Selfish.
software
Super
programmed,
selfish.
selfish lives. I think society is spoiled as we are, has like had a big part in that. I think the internet has had a bigger part in that. But I honestly believe is just from my own experience, when you believe things wholeheartedly, that you attract them. And I don't know if that's your situation, but
Well, how can it not be your situation too if you don't have any friends? You know, like
well,
what?
I'm choosing not to be friends with people who don't have the same values as I have, which that's where you get into that's like 1% of the population. So I don't really have many friendship traumas. I haven't had people try to take advantage of me the way you have. I just am like, unless you can bring to the table what I can give you, there's no friendship here.
But I think we're at the same time, whether I've had traumas and you haven't, I think we're talking about the same thing.
Oh, for
where
sure.
it's just finding a good person. Like that seems
Yes.
impossible.
Yes.
It seems so impossible, especially living in Washington State, that it's just. I think when I lived in Utah, I was like, okay, well, where do I gotta go? Where do I gotta go to find these people? Like, who are they? Like, it's almost like I need to find Tinder for friends or something like that. I need to go find a group of people to go hang out, and then I'll find a couple people to hang out with and be friends. I felt like that was a possibility. I don't know if it was, but here it's like, no. I mean, think about like where do we go? We go to the gym. We go to yoga. I guess we don't go too many places like jujitsu. Jiu-jitsu actually has some promising people there, but at the same time, there's not many people I deal with on a daily basis where I'm like, I should ask that guy if he wants to go have a drink or something. It's like,
There's no one like that.
but it's
for me
but it's
around
not
here.
even the ballpark, right?
No.
You're not even like, I don't know, I can't figure this person out. Maybe they're cool, maybe they're not. It's just
Yeah, it's a no.
yeah. When you're meeting everybody, you're like, yeah, no, you're fucking
Yeah,
weird.
I'd just rather not. It's just not even. I'm not entertaining the thought at all. It's not even a possibility.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I met in my old business. I met people literally from around the world, and it was, all in the same hobby. So it was like a type of person gets into the hobby. So maybe it was like type of people, but there weren't a ton of people even from around the world that I want to be friends with. So I don't know if it's a Washington State thing.
I think we need to remember, like, when we traveled to Europe, just the energy difference that we felt there. And I wonder if we would have felt that big of a difference if we were living in Utah or Alaska. Like, we really liked the energy there and how the
Yeah.
people were and how they drove. And there was a lot of positivity.
Yeah. Where it's cool that we're going is we're going to Vegas. Vegas has always been, not always. Vegas, the last couple times I've gone, has been amazing. It's a bunch
Yeah.
of people just like, what's up? How's it going?
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
feel like Texas would be that way.
Yeah. I
It's
don't know.
just how I feel it would be. Like, hey y'all, how you doing today?
Well, yeah. I think if you want to, that might be a good place to go. Is when I visited Alabama. Everybody's so nice in the
Yeah.
South, and
They're super hospitable. My grandma
yeah.
was from the South and a very hospitable person.
Yeah. I had a friend that I hung out with in my old business, and I think he's from like North Carolina, South Carolina, or something like that, and he was with me in Alabama, And I'm like, dude, people are so nice here. This is so crazy. Like, everybody's nice. And he's like, oh, yeah, totally. Like, I grew up over here. And he's like, people on the West Coast are fucking assholes. He's like, they're fucking assholes. And I was like, I've never really thought about it, but I think he's right. But I don't know. I think you go north too, and I don't know if they're that nice either. I think it's just that little section there down south where it's super nice people.
I think too, when we have a lot of people that have been damaged by other people, it just seems like it's a domino effect of
Yeah.
like selfishness.
Well, yeah, I think that's what
Like,
it is I went to a birthday party on Saturday, and the birthday girl's hitting a piñata, and it's like I know exactly what happens when that piñata breaks, right? That piñata breaks, and there's kids that are like throwing elbows, and they're like, "Fuck you, get out of the way," and they're like just swooping candy in and like hoarding it and shit, and it's the point is like when when the dam breaks, like people are like, fuck this, like it's all off the table. And that's kind of what I think we're talking about with friends is everybody's kind of like, oh well, you're not like willing to pick me up at 2 in the morning. Well, I'm not willing to pick anybody, like, and that's what we all go, oh well, fuck you, well, you're not doing it. It's like this like chain reaction of like, well, fuck you, everybody's like fuck you, and we're all doing our own thing. We're all just, I'm just gonna hold on to what I got and you hold on to what you got, and we're not gonna help each other out. Like that happens so quickly. You can watch that happen, and it's just it's a bad place to be. But I think, I watched this or I listened to this Joe Rogan episode, and there's this guy, I think he wrote the book Tribe. He was talking about how we used to live in tribes, and how you were accountable when you lived in a tribe. And I think like listening to that podcast it really hit home with me, because I think that's what we're really lacking. Like if you lived in a tribe of say 30 people, you better wake the fuck up, because somebody's counting on you to go gather, sow, or start a fire. The whole tribe's counting on you, so you're accountable. There's no like sitting around. If somebody's hurt, like there's 30 of you, you got to take care of each other. There's an accountability going on. But he talked about, you live in New York City in an apartment building. You live in the same apartment building as somebody else, and you guys don't even talk to each other. We're so far removed, and you don't talk to anybody. You don't count on anybody. Nobody counts on you. I think that's really what we're lacking, is just a closeness with people. It's like the world's so big now.
Esther Perel talks about that, like in just romantic relationships, all the pressure we have on one another now because we don't live in tribes or communities, because what you used to be able to get from like the ladies would be with 15 other ladies, and so there's a lot of needs being met there, and now the husband is expected to meet all those needs, or vice versa. It is interesting to think how we come from tribes, and even if you think about just maybe like my grandma's era, where they're all just like almost living in the same room. There's still a lot of like a huge family, and
We're just a small town, not even a tribe, just a small
yeah,
town.
yeah.
I mean, you're accountable. But, it's an interesting thought, because what about, I don't know, but my imagination says people that lived in, like, say, 1900. I imagine that if you were a guy, you were like, I'm, I'm out of high school or whatever, I'm 15, and it's time to find a girl because I need to survive. And it was way less about, oh, that chick's hot and she's got a huge ass and, whatever. It was way less about that and more about, I need a girl that's got some strong ass hands that can grab onto some udders and get me some milk, and like that.
I think your imagination is exactly spot on.
Well, and I think the woman was kind of like, I could use a man for protection and his strength, and I think there was a ulterior motives of let's get in a relationship so we can survive, and less of, hey, I'm a woman and I've got my own corporate job, and you're a man, you got your own corporate job, and then we fucking hate each other and we don't count on each other, and so it just feels like, I don't know, things have gotten too crazy, and it makes me wonder about the feminist movement, and it seems like the feminist movement could be just a huge mistake. Not the part of like women sticking up for themselves and stuff like that. Of course, they need to be treated right, but getting jobs and not spending time with the children and not like staying home and like nurturing the family aspect and having the man bring stuff home. And I'm not saying like genders need to be doing certain things. I'm saying a man could stay home and he could clean and he can do all this shit while the woman makes money too. But the feminist thing seemed like it fucked a lot of that up. And like, where are we at now that like women and men work? It's like that's all we do is work, and then kids don't get taken care of. And
Well, I'll speak as a female that I've always, for me, wondered that as well, because when I had my children, I like could stay home for a short time with each of them, and then I had to go to work and bring home the bacon. And for me, I would have much rather had an opportunity to raise my children their entire lives. So, I mean, I'm with you. Of course, you should be treated right, and mistreatment is one thing, but
like, if you really want a job, that's cool. But how did we get every woman in the world? You need a job, every woman.
yeah.
And saying like being a stay-at-home mom is a worthless job when it's super important. Like, okay, you're not bringing money home, but we don't raise our kids anymore. People see their kids for like an hour, and they don't even talk to them for that hour. It's schools are raising their kids. It just seems like
TikTok.
it just seems like a huge conspiracy theory that we're like, hey, yeah, women, you're being treated like shit. You should go get a job because that's what a powerful woman would do. And
It's just a more like another way to make us more slaves to the system. Because now we both have to be at work making money, and
yeah, you have to. You're used to it.
yeah,
And then your kids don't get raised and they don't get morals and values. And maybe that morals and values is where we're having problems with people being reliable and that you can count on, and loyalty. And it's, you're too busy to teach those kind of things when you're working all day.
yeah.
So, I don't know. I think everything's a mess, and I think it's by design is the thing. I think this is all planned out, and people have bought into it.
It's crazy to think about, but we're definitely unable to be free in our society.
Well, you're able. It's just hard. As we talk about. You could just unplug, right, and just make enough for your property tax and your living, and then grow vegetables
But
and
still,
stuff.
you're not completely free. You're paying taxes.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Oh. Yeah. I don't know how you do that.
I don't think there's a way to do that anymore.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? It's probably been a little while. Oh, is that right? Only 33 minutes? That's not bad. But
Yeah, I think that's a good.
33 minutes is probably long enough.
Yeah, we can wrap it up.
We'll figure it out, and I guess maybe we can get some feedback if people are listening and tell us if this was too long or short, or if you liked the content.
Was it crazy? Was it interesting? Are you pissed at us?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Hopefully we can get a hater that just talks a bunch of crap and gets us a bunch of attention. So,
Yeah, we'd love that too.
yeah. So, okay, we'll button her up, and we'll see you next Thursday. Sayonara.